This is the XEV 9e and it's an all-new, all-electric SUV by Mahindra. Now, one of the main USPs of this car is the fact that it's an SUV coupe, and second is that it possibly offers one of the best value for money propositions in the EV SUV space right now. Let's find out if that statement holds true. I'm your host Nishmanya, you're watching the Dialogus YouTube channel. I quickly want to go over the naming convention of this SUV because it's confusing for quite a few people out there. Basically, Mahindra has called this the XEV 9e, tying into its current existing SUV lineup of XUVs, the 300, the 700, and you can sort of see that with the overall styling. However, I don't want you to confuse this for a conversion of the internal combustion engine XUV 700 to just an electric car. This has been built from the ground up as an electric car on the INGLO platform. And that's why it's a little confusing that the smaller SUV coupe has the Born Electric BE badge on it, while this just has the regular electric Mahindra badge on it. Driving the XEV 9e is a very pleasant experience. Now, there are a few things worth noting: that it is a rear wheel drive, fairly powerful SUV, especially in this top spec variant. It's got a 79 kilowatt hour battery pack, and it has a single electric motor mounted on the rear wheels that makes around 280-ish horsepower and 380 newton meters of torque. And being an electric motor, that torque is available instantly. However, in its regular driving mode, they have done a pretty good job at tuning the throttle response. It isn't so immediate that it'll be difficult for newcomers to get used to, because EV motors can be a lot of fun, but if you don't know how to handle instant torque and instant power, it can be a little bit of an issue. I also quickly want to touch upon the driving modes. There are a whole bunch of them. I think 6 in total. There's your default, there's your range mode, there's your everyday mode, and you have your race mode, your snow mode, and you have your street mode. Now, for the most part, I think owners are going to leave it in the everyday mode. And the reason I think this is going to happen is because honestly, you get as much power as you really require out of a car like this. You know, the throttle, it's not snappy like you'd expect a 280 horsepower EV to be, but it's nice, linear, and it feels very controllable. And as I mentioned, there is a boost mode, which when engaged, you can really access the full range of the motor's potential. So say I want to overtake now, that is fast. It really picks up pace fast. And yeah, I don't think you need more performance than that. And the boost mode lasts you like a minute. So if you do need to get out of like a, overtaking situation, it's more than enough without you going into race mode. Now, I did play around with race mode, and I'll be honest, it was a lot of fun because that paired with the regen, there's instant acceleration, and then as soon as you let off the gas, it starts slowing down with regen, and it makes it quite enjoyable in terms of how peppy the car feels. So that manic EV performance is still there. It's just not quite as potent in the other modes, and that makes sense. This brings me to the steering wheel of the XEV 9e. And here again, there are a few things to note. First and foremost, that the wheel itself is quite nice. It's got this squarish unit. Feels very good in the hand. Nicely padded, good leather. I'm not a big fan of the controls on it. It's got this digital, like, backlit kind of semi-screen, semi-button layout. And the thing is, it's a little difficult to operate. Like, you have to press the buttons really hard and you inadvertently always end up pressing the horn. Design is a subjective thing, though there's one thing that you just can't deny when you look at the XEV9E, that is its dimensions. This is 1.9 meters wide and it is about 4.8 meters long, just under 4.8 meters. That makes this quite a large car, actually fairly big, even in comparison to something like the XUV 700, which a lot of people can't really make out just in photos. And let's quickly go over the design touches up front. You get this lovely wraparound LED DRL segment that looks quite sharp in person. These new LED headlights, again, very smart looking. There's a nose plate with this really nice texturing up here to break up some of the visual mask. You get your cameras here, sensors for ADAS down there. There is an air dam that takes care of all your EV cooling needs. And this clamshell bonnet is also rather fetching. Here on the side of the XEV9E, you will notice a few things. One, there are some very pronounced character lines. I especially like this one around the waistline that carries all the way through. Looks really smart and defining. And even here on the rear haunches, you'll also see that the wheel arches are squared off out here. And there's a lot of black cladding to hide a chunk of the visual mass on the side. The other big thing is the fact that this is an SUV coupe, so you will see that the belt line is rising while the roof line is tapering, and all of this culminates in this notchback style rear end. Another thing that you'll notice here on the side are these 19-inch alloy wheels. Now 19 inches are quite big, but it fills out the wheel wells quite well. I think they could even go one size larger, though these do look quite nice on the XEV9E. The rear of the XEV9E has this nice notchback style design, and there are some things to point out in terms of the overall look. One is the tailgate. It's got this nice detailing here with the creases that they've done in the metalwork. There's also this huge tail light that goes all the way around and mimics the look of the front end. It looks quite sharp in person. Another thing I really like is this spoiler. The integrated roof spoiler looks very sporty and fits the aesthetic. The low part of the bumper is fairly sedate in terms of look. There's no diffuser or anything out here. But on the whole, I do like how it looks from the straight on rear. Though, in my opinion, the rear three quarters, if you're looking at this area, is a little too bulky. And I feel there's a little too much gloss black cladding all around the car, at least for my tastes. I understand why they've done it. They want to cut down on the visual mass, but I feel like it would be better if they just left more of it in body color. Well, let me know, what do you think about the design of the XEV9E down in the comments below. The interior of the XEV9E is probably one of the most tech-laden cabins in the sub 30 lakh rupee segment, and it is quite evident why when you just look at the number of screens we have here. There are three 12.3-inch screens. This is your driver's instrument display. That is your main infotainment screen with all your main settings, so your apps, your wireless Android Auto, which if you quickly go into, you'll see is extremely responsive. And if we get back out of this, you'll see the other settings out here. They include your battery information. You have this really cool off-road mode also, which I'll show you in a second. So there's your off-road settings, which will show you your direction, charge, as well as your wheel angle. There's also a lap timer, as well as something that will help you record your 0 to 100 if you ever want to do that in an SUV like this. Now, the big point in the front is this third screen, which, as you can see, is also a 12.3-inch screen for your passenger, and it's designed to be able to control different songs and media controls, as well as have its own little section with apps like YouTube, Hotstar, Amazon Prime, Netflix for your passenger to watch on long trips when they get bored. It even has some preloaded apps for shopping in case you get bored while you're in a traffic jam, or like on your way back you remember you've not got groceries. So yeah, you can probably do your shopping there. I don't know who would want to use it, but yeah. And another slight issue is that from the driver's seat, you can still see the third display, and that can be a little distracting, especially if there's like a show or a video running. And I wish they put some sort of a privacy screen so that you can't see it from the driver's point of view, like some of the other high-end cars do it. Apart from that, the other features here, there is a wireless charger, works pretty well. There is a second tray that you can just store your phone in. It's a little small, so larger phones will be a tight squeeze. There are two USB Type-C chargers. And apart from that, you get this nice media dial down here, which you can use for multiple different things. Apart from just media, you can click this button and it'll take you to a quick shortcut for your AC settings. So you can just press on it, change your fan speed, which is quite convenient actually. And if we stop there and go over to the right, you can change your seat ventilation, which I wish they had a dedicated button for, but I guess at least they have this dial shortcut. And you can even access your vehicle data by pressing this bottom left button, which will take you to your different drive modes that are worth pointing out. These seats are really comfortable. They are nicely cushioned, and this one is six-way electrically adjustable with a manual lumbar function. There are also three memory settings, while this one is just manually adjustable for forward, backward, recline, and lumbar. Apart from that, you have the window toggles, which look really cool because they're toggle switches, but unfortunately, they work counterintuitively because you have to toggle them down to make them go up, and you have to toggle them up to make them go down. So that's going to take a little bit of getting used to. However, that said, there are some things that are really nice in here. Prime among them is the fit and finish. Honestly, for a Mahindra car, this is really well done, and I'm genuinely surprised at how good the quality in here is, especially with the soft touch materials on the dash, on the top of the door cards, and this extends to the back as well, which makes the entire cabin feel very premium compared to even something like the XUV 700. While gloss black plastic looks very good when it's brand new, the issue with it is that as it gets used, as in this case it has, you'll see a lot of scratches, dust, and fingerprints really get onto this gloss black plastic, which in my opinion doesn't look very good long term. So, unfortunately, this is just the trend in the auto industry. However, it is worth noting that there's a lot of piano black in here. I also want to make a special mention to the 16 speaker Harman Kardon sound system. It's actually really well tuned and the speakers give you a very immersive sound. There's actually something called the sound experience in here, which if you click on the screen, it gives you three different settings that you can go through, which is the Boston Symphony Hall, the Royal Opera House in Mumbai, and the Wembley Stadium in London. Odd three choices, but they do sound pretty interesting. And you can obviously set a custom EQ as well. However, while on the subject of sound, this EV also goes ahead and makes some sounds from its internal speakers and external speaker so that you don't sneak up on people, unsuspecting people. Here's a listen of that. Before we move to the rear, let's also talk about the door handle situation. In the front, you get these pop-out handles which look really cool, though I'm not a big fan of how they work in operation. And the rear door handles have been mounted on the C-pillar, which makes the rear look fairly neat and they're relatively easy to use. The doors also open 90 degrees both in the front and rear, which will make ingress and egress really easy for most people. Now, coming to the back seat of the XEV 9e, this is a place that's going to be very important to those of you who are purchasing this as a family car or are going to be chauffeur driven in. Good news here is that this seat is set to my driving position. I am 6 feet tall and I have about 4.5 inches of knee room out here, which is really good. I like how they've not compromised the seating position back here. Despite the batteries being under the floor, you don't sit very knees up. And I feel that is one of the reasons that's made headroom a little lower back here. Otherwise, if they've gone the traditional EV route and sunken the seat in, you'd probably get a decent amount of headroom back from that. Another thing worth noting is that you do get a nice armrest. However, it is a little high. Another thing worth noting to make your experience really comfy back here is that you can recline your seat. So this is its most upright setting. And if you press the lever, you can go back maybe about 15 degrees or so, which isn't too bad. Other amenities back here, you get this integrated sun blind, which is a feature a lot of us Indians love. In our hot summers, it'll keep the sun out. You get AC vents back here. They have a nice tactile direction change switch. Here in the back, there's also this convenient feature for the passenger on the left side of the car. You got this little lever here which you can press and move the front seat out of the way. And look how much knee room and leg room that opens up. You can really stretch out and feel like a boss. That's probably why they call it the boss mode. Another thing to point out here is that there's a completely flat floor in the middle, which means that if you do decide to have three people here, the middle passenger will be quite comfortable because honestly, you got no space and this is a wide car. So you can easily fit three at the back. And the last thing I want to point out before we move to the boot space is that I love how airy this cabin is. One, because of the large panoramic glass roof, and second, because of the white upholstery. But the only downside to that is that this upholstery gets dirty really, really fast. And this being a media car, it's been used a little bit, and you can already start seeing so many stains on this. It's not very old. So that's something to keep in mind if you are getting one of these cars. Before I talk about the boot space, let's just admire the ambient lighting across the cabin of the car. Mahindra has done quite an extensive job of providing you a mood lighting, and while some might find it a little over the top, I think it looks rather cool and fits the personality of the car. So despite this being an SUV coupe, the boot is actually fairly large. Now, as you'd expect, the underfloor batteries do eat into the space a bit. And I know this isn't really a great representation, but that is my little camera bag. And you can see there's acres of space. That's 600 plus liters of boot space. Only thing is, load lip is a little high. And if you see under the floor, there's some extra storage here. There is a boot lid cover as well as a space saver spare. Now, as I promised you, there is a fair amount of space in the front trunk, or frunk as some people call it. There's about 150 liters worth of space. And honestly, you can fit a small cabin check-in bag in here or a bunch of backpacks. So there's actually a fair amount of usable boot space up here as well. So I'm now going to show you a feature that the XEV 9e has, which is auto park. That can be done from either inside or outside the car. And I'm going to show you the process from inside here. So if we quickly switch over, you can come into your park. So to answer the question that was posed in the start, is this the most value for money EV SUV in our market right now? A straightforward answer would be yes. It makes a very strong case for itself. It's got a large battery pack, powerful motors, and it's got so much tech on the inside. There are a few downsides. I feel the ADAS is a little too intrusive in use. I feel like the interiors could do better with having another color instead of a light upholstery. And some of the tech has been a little fidgety to use. Besides that, this offers a very, very strong package. For 30,25,000 ex showroom, I feel like there's very little else out in the market right now that will give you this kind of performance, this kind of real world range, and give this sort of presence. It's worth noting there is the 7-seat version of this coming to our market in the next couple of months. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Also, the Harrier EV has just been unveiled, and that could be a worthy rival for this. Only time will tell when we get to review that, get behind the wheel. But yeah, if you're considering an EV SUV specifically, this is definitely worth putting on your shortlist.